that your humus, blood, phlegm, black bile, yellow bile, all at a balance. You drink on drink, eat on food, and in due course, your body will rid itself of ill humor. It's a balance. Now, I'm not a physic, a doctor. Studied medicine 12 years. But a physic could gauge upon your complexion, your hair, and know what of those four was the dominant, the other three subservient. And when ye would become ill, near all the time, is one of the subservients that is gained influence, and he will provide two things for you: a purgative to drain off the one that should not be dominant, as well a diet fortifying to restore that should be your dominant humor. It would be a purgative and a medic, a vomit to draw blood. You should know these.
I was more wondering, you said that 51 of your company died that first summer. Have things gotten better lately?
'Tis a custom that near half die, for they are like ye. Their heads filled with hope, but the sensibility of the country and a respect for it they lack. The first thing you should do is find a blanket and cover yourself. Other queries? Yes, Matt. Oh, yes, the clairvoyant you are.
Are you helping Captain Swift to write his log and report?
I have spent some time in writing. I am blessed in that I can write.
Where did you learn how to write?
At the grammar school where I grew up in Cockham. Right. Have you a query, sir? Have you a query, mistress? Nay? You look curious. Aye, sir.
Do you still use your coward tools?
Hey?
Do you still use your woodworking tools?
It has no purpose here. The first year near it, we was here until April. We had no buildings to speak of. We had but tents to dwell in. Or again, by the time the first supply arrived, the 2nd of January, last year, 16 and 8, we were down to but 37 souls out of 104. Other queries, have you? I said,
What was your first winter like here?
cold. Oh, I mean not
Lots of snow or?
ice. Snow, ice. 'Tis a hard thing to think that the winter, before we left out of England, that December, the Thames was starting to freeze over. I heard others speak that there had been a frost fair, they called it in. The entire river froze over, and they built little stands in the midst of the Thames River between Southwark and London. And there were them that had built on braziers, coals, and there was a roasting chestnuts over top of the river. People was ice skating. It's an odd damn thing. And it was like that here. It was like that here. Other queries? Mistress, you still look curious. No other queries, have you? Aye?
Did you try fishing to survive?
Of course. Just,
What did you catch?
they abound the rivers. Bass, shad, herring, 3 varieties of perch, sea crabs, blue in color, this long across from point to point of shells. Just places, Nazaman, just around the corner. The Kings River starts proper. From that point, 8 miles upriver, Nazaman. This place is there. there, he cannot land a boat on a boat at no time. But the oyster banks are so great. Hi. Oysters, the shells this large. 3 oysters a meal for even the most gluttonous of men. Have you another query? No others did.
I do. What are your wishes for the future? Are you going to stay here? Are you going to shed yourself of Captain John Martin and not?
I made not mention of it, for I thought it not necessarily prudent.
Okay.
Captain Martin, last year, 16 and 8, as our shallop was towed down the river in the Phoenix, Captain Nelson,
Yeah.
Captain Martin restored himself to England after just at a year. He not having the benefit of peppercorns or cinnamon and nutmeg and cloves to season his meat, and the slightest dew should distemper him. He allowed me, madam, the latitude to record all of his grand adventures, Captain John Martin did, and I was bid my leave to remain here if I would do that. The burden is I was more than happy to linger here, but he had not any grand adventures to write on. So it has been by default that I've recorded some thoughts and observations of Captain John Smith.
So your plan is to stay here and then
I have no plan. It's a place where you reach a point where you have no plan. But it's not a place that is open.
Yes.
That's the most
So you don't
important.
desire to return to the
With Captain Smith here. He has allowed a great many of us that have no voice to have it. All right. What is your query, Miss Kiss? I have seen Pocahontas. How old you are? You're 6. Stand here. Right here. She is near this tall. I've seen her. She is but a child of 10, 11. But as all of the naturals, she wears little to cover herself. And she arrives on occasion from where Wacomico. And she has brought men bringing baskets, tanks mandatory, little baskets of food, fishes, turkeys. She has led them. We're always pleased to meet her. What is your name, child?
Alexandra.
It's a lovely name. It's a lovely name. Go back where you come from. What is your question?
Sir,
Aye?
were the English at peace with all the native tribes here?
Nathan, I should not mislead you. Captain Smith, by negotiation or intimidation, has managed continuous peace. Directly across from Jamestown, the Quiyaka Annex, they express great love for us. 'Tis other tribes, the Passamaquoddy, Wabanchupon, the chief there. He desires little more than for us to be out of his country, for he claims all that area we have built the fort toward the next river north. Mind you, when we explored the Chesapeake last year, all the way up to the origins of the Chesapeake, we adventured in the shallop and made peace with a host of tribes. Patawomas, the Ones, more than I could rattle in one moment. Wayanoks upon the Kings River, the Appomattox. They are fierce people. Their queen desires for us nothing more than death. She cares not for us to be in the country. 'Tis other tribes that have embraced us with much love. Depends on where it is and how we agree with them. But near all of them, we know now, have received recent instruction from the great Manitoic Powhatan, that he wishes now for his country to be rid of us. Hi, madam.
I don't hear your sheep farm. Were you able to bring animals with you? Maybe small animals like goats or something?
Hi. Sheep, chickens, hens,
Were they able to survive?
until we ate them.
You bred them, right? So they sustain
Holes. We've received a great many holes, but we've set them loose on an isle downriver, the south side, the Suffolk side of the King's River, a place we call Hold Isle. Well, gentles, I have other labors, and truth be told, I've grown very tired of it. I have other things. I would beg you to temper what your masters will tell you. Give Captain Smith a fair opportunity. And with that, I welcome you to Jamestown and your state of near nakedness, and I wish you well.
This is Mr. Willie Balderson. He is nationally, maybe internationally, known for his first-person portrayals of historic characters, and I think you can see why. Thank you so much, Mr. Balderson, for being with us this evening.
Did you also do the first night?
I did.
Okay, I remember the voice.
Yeah. How y'all doing? You have a question for me? Why do you keep elbowing? No. Why do you kept elbowing people? Ask him. I could see you. Why don't you ask me the question? I don't understand. I'm a native Virginian. Grew up in the Northern Neck. 62 years old. So if that kind of gives you an idea the sort of society in Virginia I grew up in. I was interested in history as a little kid, studied history, Virginia history in the 4th grade. John Smith very quickly became one of my heroes because he was short and I was short. It's true. And he managed through thick and thin to defeat his detractors. So 4th grade, I grew up on a farm in Richmond County, Virginia, up in the Northern Neck. And I'd come home after school and I'd go off in the woods and play like I was exploring with Captain John Smith. True. I wanted to teach history, but I knew growing up that if I taught history, I'm starting to think about it, late 1960s, early 70s, I'd probably wind up coaching track or something. It's true. History teachers always coach baseball or track or something. It's not that I had anything against. I played football in a high school, small high school, rural Virginia. I lettered 3 years just because there were bigger people chasing me. I ran track. I was a sprinter because there were always predators right behind me. But I was really lucky. I had a chance to work at a couple of small radio stations in high school. They were looking, this is rural America, but rural Virginia. They were looking for a high school kid to do request line. And I started in 1972 and went off to VCU up in Richmond, Virginia to study journalism, to become I wanted to go back home to the Richmond, at that point, Essex County, right across the river, where I was working. I worked at 2 radio stations in high school because they were after me. Because I was a high school kid that could actually say things like interments. The Jones Ash Funeral Home gave the Saturday afternoon, they sponsored the news, and they always announced who had passed away. And the other kids couldn't say interment, so I got the job. It's kind of lame, but it's true. Anything I'm honest. Sadly, very honest. So I went off to study journalism, thinking I was going to go home and give the farm market report after 4 years. And I had a chance encounter class with a fellow that had grown up in York County, Virginia, going through the fifes and drums, Colonial Williamsburg. He was at VCU studying journalism to become a National Park Service public information officer. And inevitably, in one of the classes, we'd go out to lunch a couple times a month. And one day he said, you know, we'd talk about the class, but it would always devolve into history. One day he said, well, why aren't you in the history program? And I told him, I said, I don't want to coach track. Come on. And he said, have you ever thought about becoming an historical interpreter? And I'm podunk, Willie Balderson off the farm in Richmond County. I didn't know what a historical interpreter was. And I said, Tom, my Spanish isn't so good. I didn't know what it was. And he said, no, it's like the people that work at Colonial Williamsburg. They wear the costumes, and they take you back in time, and that's another true story. I said, they get paid to do that? I didn't know. He said, oh yeah, oh yeah. So he convinced me to apply for a summer job, summer 1976, Richmond National Battlefield Park. Changed my life. Good journalists look for multiple perspectives when they report stories. Good journalists should be chasing multiple perspectives. And it's really about sometimes the irony of that collision of their world, their views that make for this story, that give us insight into what motivates people to live their lives. Good historians do the same thing. They're chasing multiple perspectives when they tell stories. So I found a medium that I was really comfortable in that first summer 76. Went back to school in the fall, changed my major to history. The rest, sorry, is 1980s, 1986, 3 other former Park Service interpreters and I started a startup company in Richmond, Virginia called Living History Associates, designing living history programs for small museums that couldn't afford a full-time staff. We were at the ready and we could provide them with staff, 17th, 18th, 19th century, to do their special events, help them with school programs, and we were very successful. My first big contract was with the Park Service in 1989 at Jamestown. I was charged to hire, train, costume, and monitor interpreters that would lead tours in character. At the end, they step out of character and do what I'm doing right now. Bat cleanup. Back to teaching baseball. I'm sorry. That led to being noticed by Colonial Williamsburg, and I wound up working for CW for almost 20 years. Managed at one point 40 character interpreters, got bumped up to managing larger and larger programs. And a couple of years ago, I was the right age, I had enough gray. They offered some of us, as they were downsizing, they offered us early retirement. I was gainfully retired for 8.5 hours. My old vice president from Colonial Williamsburg, Dr. James Horn, had gone out to Jamestown Island to lead the archaeologists there that are working at the site of the 1607 John Smith Fort, been digging on it for 24 years now. It was believed prior to that to have been lost and part of the island that's eroded away. And he offered me a position that I couldn't refuse. So it was a tough 8.5 hours retirement. And I work out there now with the archaeologists. I'm in costume at least 3, if not 4 or 5 days a week, interpreting this period. And I leave my home over on the Middle Peninsula, King and Queen County, and I pinch myself driving every day to work that I'm working at the site of John Smith's Fort. It's just a really bizarre series of events. So, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. Do you all have any questions about Jamestown? Or yes, ma'am?
Have you ever played John Smith?
No, I won't.
Oh, okay.
No, I tried it. 2 reasons. One, other than Colin Farrell, every person I've ever read about that has played John Smith, something really bad has happened to them. Honest to goodness. Honest to goodness. Folks that have done him on stage, bad things have happened. And the other reason, I never liked, and I don't like to see a great person portrayed. I'd rather have somebody that can talk objectively about the person. They're good points, they're bad points. But so often, you meet Abraham Lincoln, he's a tough one. George Washington. If he doesn't look like George Washington and doesn't have his mannerisms, you're already up against, you've got to be a really good presenter. Washington, like Jefferson, was known not to be a talker. I used to manage Bill Barker, the fellow at Colonial Williamsburg that plays Thomas Jefferson. And we used to joke about it. If you had a chance to meet the real Thomas Jefferson or Bill Barker, you'd love to meet Bill Barker as Thomas Jefferson. Because Jefferson was an introvert. He wouldn't talk to you. There are accounts of people having audiences and they just sit there. He was an introvert. Bill is an interpreter. And he brings Jefferson to life with such aplomb. But it's a difficult thing to play big people. And oftentimes it's myopic. And I would rather have the adventures of. So, yeah. Other questions? And if not, I thank you all so very much for coming out. Thank you for your time and support. Please support Monroe. If you get a chance, go up to Jamestown.